wonderful. I can see people are piling into the meeting. It's great to see a lot of names that I recognise and some that I don't. Welcome to this transformative simulation webinar. My name is Andy Buttery, and I'm really looking forward to the talk that we've got coming up for you very shortly. So without any more ado, we're not going to have time for round robins or anything like this at this stage. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker. So at the moment, you should be seeing my slide, which just has the definition of transformative simulation up for you, just as a sort of place tile and a reminder of what this is all about. But now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Rose Edwards from University Hospitals Dorset, who is going to talk to us around the work she's been doing on preparing staff, buildings, equipment and processes for service relocation using transformative simulation. And before I hand over to Rose, I have a quote from the Dalai Lama that I think really relates to this talk. So one of the things the Dalai Lama says is that we should love people and use things and not the other way around. And one of the delights of Rose's presentation, I think, is its overall human factors approach of people being good tools to investigate faults in and possibilities for improvement in systems, in things. Good people with things that could be better. So over to you, Rose.
Thank you. Okay, can you see the slides okay? Fab. Yeah, I changed the title a number of times and ended up with this sort of informal title of what is transformative simulation? Oh, that was transformative simulation. And that kind of sums up what I'm going to talk about, the journey that we've been on within our trust at the moment. So we're going to look at the story and then what we've learned along the way. So we're going to particularly pause and look at pre-briefing, debriefing. There's a spelling mistake there, apologies. Identifying and reporting latent safety threats, and that's a key one. Progress and buy-in from senior leaders, that's been a challenge that we've been managing. And a little look at tabletop simulations, which is something that we brought in as we've gone along. So those are the things we're going to be looking at in this presentation. This is our simulation team at University Hospitals Dorset. I'm there in the middle. So I'm Rose Edwards. I'm a paramedic by background, and I've completed the Health and Medical Simulation Masters in Hertfordshire University of Hertfordshire. And this is my team, and actually I know that nationally, compared to some simulation teams, we are very fortunate to have so many of us. We've actually got 2 more people due to start in our team as well, temporarily for transformation. But we've got in orange is 2 simulation technicians. Either side of them is Lily and Kirsty. I think they're both on the call, and they are our sim practitioners. Lily's an ODP and Kirsty is a nurse. And then on the outside of those are 2 simulation fellows who are on a year rotation as well. So we are a really MDT team, and I think that really supports the work that we do within the trust. I think that's quite significant. I don't know who might know this, but some of you might know this. But yeah, a few years ago we were awarded £500 million for our trust to merge two trusts to become one and change the way that we work. And the main change was making one site purely emergency care and the other site planned care. So in Poole Hospital, it's a big focus on theatres and procedures, planned care. And I think one of the main ideas is that if you're booked in for a theatre, you're not going to be pushed back by an emergency case coming in. So we're looking to meet more deadlines, things like that. Just by the by. So the story begins, 2019, we were approached by a transformation team about getting involved in testing these spaces. We were able to mock up some plans and some spaces in a warehouse and test stuff. We did some tabletop simulations. We had the VR and CAD designs, and then we started planning for our large-scale orientation. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there we go. If only. So, we are the NHS, and as if. My plan is that in the future that will be the case, that we will have that level of support and buy-in and knowledge further away from just education teams. But that wasn't the case. So this is where we've been and where we're going. So we've had a pre-phase, phase 1 and phase 2. We've just come to the end of phase 2. And we've got phase 3 on the horizon. So we are very much in the middle of this. And for each phase that we've gone through, we've learned, we've changed, and we've adapted. So those are some of the things that we're going to share now. And we've got new plans going forwards as well. So one of the first things was a barn theatre opening in Poole in 2023. First thing we knew about this was one of the educators in Poole who'd been on our faculty development course came and said, I've been asked to induct 200 plus staff into this brand new space, new way of working, and I wondered if simulation might be a good idea. We had 3 weeks notice and then 3 weeks to deliver this, and we did. We got everybody in multidisciplinary teams, theatre teams, all allocated half a day to attend training. They had an hour of orientation, looking at how the new buttons work and where everything is. And then we ran 3 simulations, which each gave an opportunity to go and find something, explore, look at communication with theatre coordinator during an emergency. Lots and lots of things. Lots of benefits came from it, and many of them were building snagging, finding that the door release button was behind the open door, so it was too awkward. Some of the cupboards were too tall for some staff to reach, and there were lots of things that came from that. Nearly 2 years later, phase 1, last spring, was the beach building opening. It's a huge building at our Bournemouth site. On the ground floor, we've got the largest emergency department on the south coast. Above that, we've got antenatal and critical care. Above that, maternity, including obstetric theatres. And above that, postnatal and a NICU unit. And then on the top floor is child health. Child health have not moved in yet, but all the others have. Huge undertaking, lots of very large, quite acute departments. However, actually, all of these departments came with their own practice education team. So that was really good that we had them already in place. That was a really big benefit. But as we went through this, we noticed that every department had a different need. So going into this project, just looking at the 5 foundational pillars, as we could see at that time, our purpose was to induct staff into new spaces. And we had in mind that we would sign them off for everything somebody would need orientating into a new space, which would be the fire procedures, where the fire alarms, what the fire panels, all those things, the inducting into the new space fire stuff. What to do in an emergency, so that would include where the emergency trolleys are, how to use the emergency call bells, the nurse call panels with those, and how to work in the space, so they can get more familiar with where things are. So that was our purpose, and that has changed since then, but this is what we started with. The perspective was that we wanted to support staff en masse, and we were very much at sort of on the floor level. We just wanted to support people to move into the space. When we were having the initial meetings about setting up these simulations, we really had to start at the beginning with explaining the whole point of it. A lot of people thought that this was going to be like basic life support. We were going to be stressing people out, testing them, and that was not the case. So we had to really explain over and over what the benefits might be and why we wanted to do this. While we were having these meetings, eventually the senior matrons and others involved said, yes, okay, let's do this. And they would hand us over to their practice educators who were starting from scratch, who had not been involved in these conversations. And so we then had to explain it to them, and they had different ideas. It contradicted what we'd already sort of agreed. And so going forwards, we ensure that actually we include everybody right from the start, and we've been going very senior now, but also seeing the value of the practice educators in their input. So that was quite a stumbling block when we thought we had everything planned, and then we didn't have to go back to the beginning. Preparation again was quite a challenge, but in order, we obviously knew this was going to be a huge undertaking. We had lots of practice educators available. We ran lots of simulation faculty development courses, and it's something that we already had established within our organisation. We ran a 2-day course, and so during that time frame, we put 120 people through it, I think in about 18 months. And so actually we expanded our faculty, and that really led to being able to do this on scale. And possibilities at this stage, we had no idea. We'll talk about that. So going into the opening of the beach building, we had the confidence and the vision because we had done it in the theatre a couple of years before. We knew what we could achieve. We ran single scenarios multiple times, but we adapted it by delivering it in different spaces. So we were finding that people were getting to know different areas within the building more so. So it was adapted. We discovered that latent safety threats, we discovered many latent safety threats, but we didn't have a formal way of reporting them. And that was something significant that we've changed now. Things like in the emergency department, they had a ligature light room. Through doing simulation, we found that the door opened inwards and could be locked from the inside, and the blind could be closed from the inside. So somebody could easily shut themselves in there. And this was a simple building error, but that could have been a bigger issue if it hadn't been picked up. And on reflection, we noticed that, yeah, each department had different objectives. We didn't notice it in advance. We didn't plan for it in advance, but that is something that we are looking to do going forwards. So I'll just talk you briefly through each of the departments. Radiology was a small department, but they were bringing teams from 2 different sites. So their big focus was inclusion. Critical care, they were going to be working quite a different footprint, from going with curtained bays to working in side rooms, and actually you couldn't hear each other asking for help, things like that. So they decided to work in quite a different way and in sub-teams. They also had new equipment to get used to. Maternity was the largest department. We had 30 or 40 participants per session, and it was MDT, including theatres as well. We were able to get them signed off for their annual update of Prompt, which is the obstetric emergency course that they have to do. So we embedded that into what we were doing, two birds with one stone, and so that was a big factor. So we did inclusion for so many people getting involved, so many different disciplines, consultants, theatres along the way. And identification, again, we did a test of somebody in I always call it a birthing pool that needed to be evacuated in an emergency. And they had bought these new birthing pools that were wider and they stuck out funny. And actually, it wasn't quite suitable with the nets that they had previously. Obstetric theatres, this was a very interesting one. We ran obstetric major hemorrhage, and we included transfusion practitioners and porters would walk the walk to the transfusion hub, which was actually about a 15-minute round trip to get the blood. The transfusion practitioners would answer the phone during these simulations and really ask the questions. And in being involved, the transfusion practitioners were able to see the challenges. And as a result, we were able to get the blood requests electronically put over to the transfusion hub so that they didn't have to come and collect the information and take it. They were also able to increase the amount of O negative blood that was stored locally from 1 unit to 4, which is, again, quite significant, temporarily to 4, with the idea of bringing it back down to 2 after settling in. So intervention and influence. The neonatal unit, they were very big, focused on orientation of staff. They use these little rubber ducks to do some scavenger hunts. But they looked at other things, equipment and the routes of the ambulance transfers. So intervention and improvement is what they were focusing on. And the emergency department, yeah, they were bringing 2 teams together, from a team from each site. So they were starting to get to know each other and work together. And we had 3 simulations that happened, but these ones happened all in different areas throughout. And they were looking at identifying issues and inclusion. And then just before the building opened, literally less than a week before the building opened, we had a grand sim, and this was focused around obstetric theatres. And this was a final push to ensure that it was going to be safe. So it was a push and a test of the building and the systems, definitely not the individuals. And we ran 5 simultaneous simulations in maternity theatres. This was simulating a very bad day at the office, and we would never expect this to all happen at the same time, but if it did, how would we manage it? We were looking for holes, pinch points, issues. We included everybody in this. So it was the obstetric team and maternity, but the Met team also responded. Transfusion worked with us for the phone calls and providing blood. The porters got involved in their normal role that they would do with the Met team and with transfusion. NICU came and supported by taking a baby or 2 at the right moment in the sims, and having their input. And we had to transfer one simulation got transferred to main theatres, and the switchboard were quite key in this as well with the communication. This was fed back and reported as a go, no go event. And each of these 5 simulations was observed by somebody dedicated to looking at safety using the word's gone out of my head. I want to say, sorry, the SEEPS, sorry, I got there, using the SEEPS model. So each of the 5 was evaluated using the SEEPS model for safety to evaluate all the different elements that could be spotted. And then those were taken forwards and reported. Inclusion, very inclusive, identifying issues. Intervention, it could have caused safety issues that could have delayed the opening, and influence things that came up from this. It was a powerful, impactful event that was able to make changes. Through doing this, this is still phase 1 that we're talking about here. We've the team, I can't take all the credit for any of this actually, but came up with a transformation pre-brief prompt. Now, especially where we were having practice educators supporting a lot of these sessions, and we wouldn't be able to be there and do everything. So we made this pre-brief prompt. And we could just have a brief look at it, but in the blue, introductions and feelings. So we use this, and feelings is a very difficult one, but we adapted it so everybody would introduce themselves and their job role, and then tell us out of 10 how they were feeling about the upcoming move, with 10 being really excited to be working in a shiny new building, and 1 reflecting some anxiety or uncertainty about the move. People could elaborate if they wanted to or not, but it was a really nice way. We'd call it sort of taking the temperature of the room, see where everybody is at. It gave them an opportunity to get it off their chest as well, but right at the beginning of their session. We would share the objectives, and the objectives were mainly inducting into the space and covering off fire and emergencies, having an opportunity to work in the space and get familiar with it before they had their first patient, and then also looking at ways of working and any safety issues that might come up along the way. Reassuring that it's not a test. And in the orange there, more questions. So acknowledging that it's different from simulation-based education. And actually, when we're looking at the debrief, we're mostly going to be having questions and actions. And these were written down sometimes on a flip chart so that everybody could see, sometimes in a notebook by the practice educator. But we would note questions and actions to go forward from this rather than individual learning. In the green, we talk about the practicalities of the simulation, and in the purple there, how to use it. Actually, the escalation, do we actually want you to do double two in real life, or how are you going to simulate that? So just making sure that everybody really understood how to play the game. And then after that, we would then give the individual brief for each simulation. Debriefing, and I was just talking about the fact we're reading the transformative simulation to patient safety and beyond chapter that was written, and what we took from that, again, this was retrospective, but it really fitted with what we actually did. So it suggests that it's loosely based on a debrief model, which it was. We tend to focus towards pearls, and we'll look at that in a sec. Skilled simulation debriefer should be running it, and that's why we put everybody on the faculty course as much as possible. Made clear it's not an educational event, and that's what we reiterated in the pre-brief prompt. And acknowledging simulation might be a new experience for many, so particularly transfusion, particularly porters, and there are many other people that don't do much simulation. So really explaining the details right at the beginning is really important for that. And then reiterating that it's not about individual take homes, but more actions. So this is the debrief method that we used, and this is just roughly that I've just written out. It's not actually a prompt that we use, but just to show you what we've been using. So setting the scene is the same as the Pearl. So we're going to now spend 25 minutes talking about what happened, no right and wrong, etc. With the Pearls model, I'm sure many of you are familiar, it suggests we talk about feelings, and feelings is a very difficult thing for people to articulate. And you ask people their feelings and they'll start critiquing with the facts of what happened. So we put it into a one-word challenge. And the sort of things that we would get from that was organised, chaotic, stressful, reassured. And again, it just gives everybody an opportunity to get it off their chest, how they found it working. So we really liked that method in this. We then chose to go through chronologically what happened and invite those at each stage that were involved to share what they got up to, what they found, how they found it, etc. Anything else we've not discussed, and then summarising action points. So all the things that have been discussed that are going to be taken forward, just reiterating that and just reassuring people that it has been noted. Right at the end, we could just remind the objectives if they are focusing on clinical things, actually the objectives were just for orientation, etc. And then thanks and feedback. So this has been adapted over many simulation sessions, and this is what we have found works for us. One of the metrics that we were able to gather from our feedback, nearly 1,000 responses, which in itself is pretty impressive, I think. Score out of 5. So before today's session, how confident did you feel working in the new space? 2.7, and then after 3.7. So 37% increase, which is pretty good. And the results of phase 2 is actually more significant than that again. I'm gonna have to speed up. I've got so much to talk about, guys. It's lots have happened. Phase 2, this is what we've just come out of literally last week. So the things that changed from phase 1 to phase 2 is that we added in tabletop simulations. There were lots of moments within phase 1 where we had lots of people involved to do simulations, and we thought we could have just thought about this previously using a floor plan and looking at staffing. So we've added in tabletop simulations, which we'll look at. Senior decision makers pushed for them to be involved more and earlier. Support from the transformation team, so they are really good support. So anything from organising meetings to getting beds and equipment in these new buildings. And there was also a lead nurse for transformation just added in at this stage as well, which was really helpful for giving a bit of weight to our requests. We've set up a formal process for raising safety issues. So previously they were going with the practice educators, and they were escalating to their seniors, and they were escalating to their seniors, and there wasn't a lot of accountability for actions actually being resolved. So now there is a spreadsheet that anyone can add to, and it'll be reviewed at every meeting for the Move Ready groups and the department groups. So that's a formal process, which I think is really vital. And we've also been using simulations to test clinical pathways for SOPs, which are going to be significantly different, or SOPs that are risky, which the organisation allocated which SOPs to be tested. So we're in the process of working on those at the moment. Our tabletop simulation, so I think a picture does speak 1,000 or more words. And this just gives you an idea. We're physically around a floor plan with these little characters, meeples, representing staff, representing patients, looking at staffing levels during the daytime, staffing levels at night, team working and dynamics, and just pushing many different narratives really to get an agreement of how business as usual should function before actually doing the simulations for the staff en masse. So getting that agreement at senior level of what normal looks like. We've also been using this to test out various SOPs as well. Very easy to run, and it follows all the same formats that you would do with in-person simulation, with a pre-brief, a brief for the scenario, giving them 10 minutes or so to run through it, and then a debrief of the experience, and then potentially doing another one. This is the issue management log, so the way that we've been recording issues, including safety issues, and it just gives a really clear structure. What the issue was, how was it raised, is it a building issue or something else? And then an issue owner is allocated, and updates can then be put on there. And that brings us to where we are right now. Planning. This is our next phase 3. We've got the coast building. It's currently being built. We've had a hard hat tour, and it's all looking okay. It's mainly going to have 2 floors for respiratory wards and 2 floors for gastro wards. So it is large, but the wards aren't so acute as the previous events. And we've also got child health moving into the top floor of the beach building. These are all happening within the same week. These moves are happening, along with many other background departments moving sort of internally into other spaces. Lots and lots of movements happening. And we've got endoscopy, a brand new endoscopy building that's being built as well. Lots going on, lots coming up. And this is my dream. The future, my vision, the simulation discussed at the planning phase of transformation. The benefits are understood by senior leadership, but also transformation teams, also health and safety teams going forwards. And those benefits are that we can support staff, especially when staff are anxious. We can eliminate some of that unknown and help them feel better. Supporting departments to understand how they will function and actually what is the best way, what is the agreed way that they should function. Identifying issues early and testing new SOPs. My hope also is that simulation is supported more with staffing and time for these events. And if we think about the actual cost of staffing and time, it's minimal in the hundreds of thousands of pounds that are actually going into these projects, the millions. It's such a simple solution, but it does need the support and the understanding. And that was it. I'd love to answer any questions. I know that was a lot of information. I hope you've been following along. I'm just going to stop sharing. Oh.
Well, thank you, Rose. Thank you for that comprehensive tour. I feel like I want to start by just repeating what I was saying about this quote of the Dalai Lama about loving people and using things instead of you loving things and using people. And for me, that um, we have to bear in mind that this isn't simply about discovering latent threats. It's much bigger than that, but it's this change from the um, pedagogic approach where anxious learners go to visit the mannequin in his house and are there as imperfect people to be improved, to this idea of the simulation team and the mannequin coming to the people and giving them the opportunity as perfect probes in a real sort of human factors sense. The people are the perfect probes of the faults, latent and otherwise, in the system, and the system includes the wider sort of system, the management system and everything else. So for me, some of the messages in what you were talking through were almost hidden in the modest way you describe it, the change in attitude. So I remember we were talking about the matron discovering the opportunity in simulation to play what if games with staffing levels, for example. So if we think about those 5 Ps that you began with, this was about looking at what the purpose was and who had the power and how they might use it. And another thing, while I wait to see if anybody else has any other comments, something I want to mention is your feedback on how people felt about it. Sometimes what you get is you get people having a reality check about their confidence. So people might go into this feeling overconfident and come out with a more level understanding of where their confidence is. And that can flatten your outcome data a little bit. So there are people in the chat. Sharon, do you have a comment or a question at the moment?
No, I'm just going to turn everyone's cameras and mics on so everyone can engage. Just give me a second.
Okay.
And then I believe there's questions in the chat and in the question and answer section. Can you see that, Andy, or do you want me to read them out?
Oh, hang on, I'm just looking at the Q&As. There's a question on how you assess transformation, which I think is quite an interesting question, coming from Lima in Peru. So welcome to the webinar. Assessment is different from traditional simulation because in traditional simulation, you're talking about, have we achieved our intended learning outcomes? Essentially, that is the measure of success, isn't it? And in transformative simulation, it's about, have we got actionable targets that we can now set out to address? Right, I'm just going to find Colette's question. So Rose, Colette is asking about the debrief, how you did it, how many facilitators. I know you had a massive sim faculty development program. How did you capture the outcomes? And did you align your findings to human factors? So you did mention SEEPs briefly.
Yeah.
Would you like to respond to that, Rose?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the debriefs, we would have one facilitator as a minimum. Sometimes we were running a number of simulations simultaneously, but we'd have one sort of simulation trained person with a subject matter expert or a knowledge specialist. In maternity, we'd have a senior midwife, for example, sat by our side and contributing equally as we went through. However, sometimes we had many more than that, and actually it was quite nice that we all followed the same format, so it felt a lot easier to jump in and share that responsibility. Like I say, we only really captured the things that were left unsure, uncertain, to go away and find out or to raise as an issue. So those things were captured, and going forwards, they will go onto the issues management log. Other than that, we captured the feedback from staff, and there were many other things that we took, many other questions that we got in that were really useful for how people felt prepared to move into the space, and lots of free text as well, so they were able to tell us if they still had concerns. So those are the main things that we captured. But we didn't really write them up. There were so many of them that wouldn't have been practical, really. And we only really used the SEEPs for that one big test. But it is something that when we're going to be looking forwards, going forwards about what the objectives might be, we can actually therefore tie a model to look at evaluating it in advance. A lot of this was retrospective. Yeah, don't know if that's.
Thanks. We've got another question and we've got a couple of hands up, but I'm going to give Coletta just a quick chance to come back on that because she's raised her hand.
Thank you. Yes, thanks so much, Rosie. What I'm interested in is my point was the non-technical skills. I was thinking when you identified latent threats, I was wondering when you then reported them upwards in your system, because sometimes they are those human factor skills, not the human factor ergonomics of SEEPs, but the actual non-technical skills. And I just wondered if you did any alignment of that, because I'm really intrigued by, what if it is a leadership gap that we could serve? If we could name it, could we then, because we could then target our training or our, I'm just wondering, that's, I don't know, my head's exploding, of course. It's exciting.
Yeah, I don't think I can answer that actually, but that is really, yeah, it's a great thing to be thinking of. That wasn't a big factor for us from what I could see, but actually probing into it more, that probably would come up at points, and would be good to look at in the future.
That's great, thank you. So with your hand up, we have, would you like to put your microphone on if you can, and use camera and speak to us there? It's a question about partners, I think. Is it? The group with the hand up.
Is it the name, Andy? I can't really see the name on the screen either. Is it PC Memel? Memel?
I think that's Malka. We'll give you a moment to come in whilst we're hoping we can get the technology to work to give you a voice. And Marco, I see you're waiting to speak as well. I just want to come to a couple of points from the Q&A again, which is about the scenario design, Rose. How did you decide on that scenario? I know you had sort of like generic scenarios that you ran in different ways, but was it a multi-professional team that put the scenarios together? And
No.
I think we've covered this now, but maybe you can say more about your difficulties, your growing relationship with senior management as this has progressed.
Yeah, so the design of the simulations was another really tricky area. We, as a simulation team, had a vision, and we were really focused on not testing people, supporting staff, and testing things and processes. And that was quite a difficult message to get across to people. And lots of people we're talking to wanted to do big, huge, cardiac arrest and life-threatening, people are going to die in a few moments kind of simulations. And we really had to rein it back and look, what are the actual objectives? And so recently in phase 2, we were doing what we wanted to have done would just be a cardiac arrest, but we didn't even want people thinking 32, eye gel, what do I do next? So actually, we just made them unconscious, and unconsciousness being an emergency, unless they're in critical care or theatres, we told them, or we want you to go through an emergency of double two and get the crash trolley and escalate and look at managing it. But we made it so we took back the clinical side of it. We just completely removed it, and it had a really good effect that staff felt comfortable, reassured. I literally told them what I've just told you, that we would like to run a cardiac arrest, but we're not going to for these reasons, because it's not about the clinical. So we did lots of things like that. Actually, every simulation that we did, we declared what the scenario was before we did it. You are going to have a cardiac arrest, or you are going to have a patient deteriorated sepsis. And just to prove that it's not a test on their clinical judgment in that respect. It's much more about going through the motions and learning what we can learn as a department. So scenario design, we were quite forceful in what was designed in these circumstances. For those reasons, just to protect staff as much as we can. But I think that is an area that we are probably lacking in, the collaboration in design a little bit more. But I think the more people understand it, the more we can trust them to come up with appropriate scenarios.
And you're getting loads of compliments, Rose, which I won't bore you with. Marco, you have a comment, question?
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. So one that you just mentioned that I don't think Rose answered. So you talked about in the initial stages not having much senior staff or the senior decision makers involved, and later on you did. So what were the reasons they weren't involved initially, and how do you get them involved later? What did you do to get them involved?
Yeah, so there was an example of, actually it was surgical SDEC, same day emergency care. And actually this was a new department that was having people from ENT, people from gynae, people from head and neck and general surgery, lots of teams working together that have never worked together before. So we did a tabletop simulation, and with those senior matron level people, it was decided that a healthcare support worker would support any patient in that area, and a registered nurse would support any deteriorating patient. An adult deteriorating is an adult deteriorating. And that was all kind of agreed as far as we're concerned. Later on down the line, somebody senior came back who'd had the vision of it in the first place and said, actually, no, we're going to be working more separately. It kind of went backwards again to the original plan, but actually, had that person just been involved in the very first tabletop, it would have saved a lot of backwards and forwards. So that was recognised, and now we are pushing for sort of clinical director level to come to these initial scenarios, the initial tabletops. We've made them so that they are sort of 2 hours, and it's a really significant moment. We need the people that can make the change and have the power and influence, along with representatives from each of the sort of specialities and staffing groups that will be working there. So still keeping it MDT, but having that oversight from the really, really senior people. Otherwise, it can be a bit pointless if we're not fully understanding the vision.
But how are you convincing them then to participate? It makes perfect sense to have them
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Do
So
you
we're
agree?
fortunate
How do you
now.
get?
We've got a lead nurse for transformation who is carrying a lot of weight, and she's been seeing what's been happening, and she understands the issues, and she's helping on our behalf to get the right people there. But it's a shame that it's had to take that timely process to get to where we've got to actually get that in place. And I'm really hoping that some of what we're learning in our transformation, we can, cut a lot of this out for other people with future moves. Yeah, it's less than ideal.
Fantastic. Can I ask one more question, Andy? Or yeah, fine.
Yes,
So-
please do, Marco. Yeah. Thanks.
Based on all the stuff you've done now with stuff doesn't sound very respectful, sorry, but based on the great work you've done, is there any change to how simulation is organized within the trust? Is it still part of the education team, or is there a fundamental change in where it sits? Because there's sort of a vision of having simulation part of transformation, of clinical leadership, of quality, whatever. Are you seeing a shift there?
It's a great question. So we were fortunate to be funded for two, a Band 6 and a SimTech for 2 years for transformation. So that was from the get-go. So when it was first being discussed, actually, we can support this, but we need extra people. We really cut down on our business as usual as well. So where we did the simulation faculty courses to upskill, we were also upskilling a lot of people that do work for curriculum purposes, that are our everyday customers, as it were. And we said, we're not going to be able to support you as much as we do during this time. So we upskilled them so that they could support themselves a little bit more, which was really important. And we're just about to take on some more transformation staff as well, temporary, because we've had those 2 years already. So it is recognised in that respect. We've had the support in that way, but I also think kind of separate to the work that we've done, I think health and safety kind of team. This is transformation, not just for the work that we're going through, but transformative simulation is lots about patient safety, and I think there should be some funding from those avenues as well. So we've got funding from different places, but essentially we do still sit under the education team.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Rose. And thank you to our questioners and Rose. There are some lovely comments and a lot of compliments. Hanin is asking if the pre-beef tool is available.
I should think so. Yeah, we're all up for sharing. It's an important thing. Yeah, if we've learned all of this and we don't share it, that's ridiculous. So I'd be very happy to share the work we've done.
Yeah, so we will be sharing the webinar on the ASPE website, and we can find a way to put other materials with it. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So I'm just looking at questions about were students from partner universities involved in this exercise. I think this was pretty much about the staff who were going to work in the new buildings and the new system. Yeah. Yeah,
so we included staff that were on students that were on placement in the wards. We thought it was very important to include them, but we weren't specifically working with the universities for this. It's sort of an internal thing, but yeah, again, in the future.
Is that okay for you as a response? I think so. So I'm going to just quickly move on. I'm going to lead in the virtual round of applause, Rose, both for your presentation, but even more for the excellent work. Things will, the world will be a better place for the work you've done in preparation for what happens with your fantastic new facilities. Bravo to you all.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
I'll try and
so-
answer some of these in the question with text after the meeting finishes as well.
Okay, lots of kind congratulations. In the closing moments, I just would like to remind everybody, so this is a summary slide really, which I'm hoping you can see, which is just a reminder of just how systems focused, and this echoes, there's a new article in BMJ Leader that several people who are on this webinar have contributed to with others.
I can't see it, Andy, sorry.
About, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. Let me try something else. This might work to some extent. Sharing, or do we need to? We're coming up to time. So I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to talk to let you know that the next TfS this webinar will be on Tuesday, the 1st of April, again at 1 to 2, and we're delighted that our guest speaker is Rashid Mohammed, Dr. Rashid Mohammed from Norfolk and Norwich, and his title is Transformative Simulation Supporting Real-World Problem Solving, Quality Improvement and System Learning Across Emergency and Specialist Care. So that sounds like it's going to be a really interesting follow-on to this one from Rose. Thank you, everybody attending, for your interest, involvement, and engaging questions and comments. See you again next time. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Well done, Rose.
Thank you.
Bye and thank you. Congrats, Rose from Chile.
No, thank you.